Hello, hello. Can we hear each other? Nice. Thanks to the panel. I think this is going to be a great chat, totally casual, no stresses. I'm guessing kind of let's just go around quick introductions, maybe start with Fluid from DMH.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me here. I'm DMH, this guy on the bottom of the of the list. I'm a head of growth at InstantUp, and we launched Fluid lending and borrowing protocol this year. Recently, we launched the DEX, and I'm representing Fluid here.
Hi everyone. I'm Paul, the co-founder and CEO of Morpho Labs, and we launched the Morpho Optimizer protocol, and then more recently the Morpho protocol, which is a decentralized lending and borrowing protocol on Ethereum.
Hello everyone, I'm Marc. I'm the founder of the ACI, the Aave Chain Initiative, and we are a service provider to the Aave DAO and the largest delegate of the DAO.
Cool. Okay, before we go into like which protocol is the best, maybe let's start off.
Just use Aave.
Let's start it off easy. Can you maybe like each panelist like pick one of the other protocols and like say one nice thing, like something you like about the other protocol as well? DMH, do you have something to say nice?
I have something to say nice about Morpho and Aave only, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so with Morpho, I see the only, sorry, I see the only advantage that it's permissionless for anyone to create their market. It might find a use case for more institutional players. Other than that, one more advantage is very simple protocol, so there are less risks of something going wrong. This is the main advantages that I can speak about. For Aave, I'm happy to see that Aave is evolving. They're not stopping. There've been a lot of lending markets in the space which stopped evolving at one point, and Aave overtook them eventually. And another part I like about Aave is the decentralization, the structure, how they're working. I discussed it with Marc probably yesterday. The structure is very efficient, and everyone knows what they're doing, and they have a lot of service providers to the protocol, which make it even more decentralized. Yeah, and their track record, of course.
So I guess I can go next. So on Aave, I second what you just said. I think it's probably one of the most, if not the most well-functioning DAO like that exists. Seems like all the players are like well coordinating and at a scale, and they're able to ship at a pace that we've been like in Morpho quite impressed to be frank, given like how decentralized it is at the governance level. Then we can go like in the other advantages of Aave on the mechanism and stuff, but I think this to me is like the most impressive. On the Fluid side of things, I think the idea of having a unified liquidity layer with the DEX liquidity being used and in the same pot as like the lending liquidity is interesting. Obviously, it does have like liquidity has to be managed, etc. But it's very refreshing, and I think it will inspire many protocols in the future.
That's very nice to hear. Unfortunately, I'm not a nice guy, so I have nothing nice to say.
Yeah, Marc, I was expecting that from you. Yeah, maybe let's start with you with kind of a question to go back to your own protocol. So what you would say like is the maybe let's say your favorite thing about Aave, and like what kind of separates you? What was like the key feature that you enjoy?
Sorry guys, sandwich attack.
Here you are. This is Brad.
Yeah, the fight is starting.
Nice to see you guys. Sorry I'm late, but I think you guys are early.
Yeah.
Are we?
You guys started a couple minutes early, but it's okay.
It's all right.
I mean, the venue is really close by, so we all got here pretty easily. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
You want to introduce yourself, Brad and Venus?
Sure. My name is Brad Harrison. I work on Venus Protocol, which is the second highest revenue generator in the lending sector. We're on 6 chains, originally on BNB chain from the year 2020. Who can remember that? It feels like ages ago already. And by the end of the year, we'll be on 2 more chains. So really excited to be here. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, let's continue. Like I was saying, Mark, like what would you say is like your favorite thing or like the key differentiator for Aave?
Actually, I think we are very complementary, all of us, because we don't have the same approach to the market and the same services. So I'm almost trying to be nice. I think what Aave does is that we are not the yield leader. You will probably find better yield outside of Aave. Our aim is to provide the best risk-adjusted yield of the industry, and I think we provide that for the past 5 years now. The second thing is we try to isolate the use case and isolate the verticals that are interesting of the on-chain economy. And we take what works, we make it great, we make it safe, and we make it scale.
Cool. Maybe Brad, if you heard the question, basically we were talking about like what would be like your favorite thing about Venus, what's kind of the key differentiator there?
Sure, there's 2 that come to mind. So the first one is this safety mechanism we pioneered called the Resilient Oracle. A few other protocols have followed suit here, but we're always looking for single points of failure in DeFi. There are a few, and one of them is over-reliance on a single Oracle provider. And we have a mechanism that allows graceful degradation and fallback to a second Oracle should that first one fail. So there's a lot of trust in the industry around Chainlink. I think it's probably well-deserved given that they were a pioneer in their space. But we've seen some question marks about the pricing accuracy sometimes. And that's why we decided to introduce a fallback. So we have the capability of adding 3 pricing oracles to every market to ensure pricing resiliency. And the other differentiator is called Venus Prime, which is basically a revenue boosting generator on select markets. So if you stake our token on the security module, you get, for at least 90 days, you get revenue boosting. That can be quite significant since Venus is the second highest revenue generator in DeFi lending.
Cool.
So yeah, so about Morpho, I think the 3 most important things are being like permissionless, being decentralized, and being primitive. So permissionless being the aspect of Morpho that anyone can create, like the lending and borrowing use cases that they want on the Morpho stack. The second one being decentralization. Morpho is by far the most decentralized lending and borrowing protocol out there. The code is completely immutable, and the risk management is not enshrined in the core markets of Morpho, meaning that a user of Morpho completely owns both the code but also the risk management, right? Which is something that's increasingly important. It's always been important for DeFi users, but it's more and more important for like the next wave adoption, most importantly. And finally, the primitiveness, which comes with the idea that the way we've designed Morpho is not like as a monolith, but more as rebuilding DeFi in layers, where you have like the core market primitives. Around that, you can build a lot of things that go and complement with like all the features that you would need. But if you don't want or you don't need like the features, you don't get to subscribe to the risk. Like if you don't want to lend and don't be exposed to collateral XYZ or DEX activity XYZ, you just subscribe exactly to what you need. If you want something that's much more complex, you can. You have to subscribe to additional layers. But the idea is to be primitive, permissionless, and decentralized as much as possible.
So for the Fluid, we believe that we have the most efficient lending market. Nobody can compete. Actually, we outcompete every lending market in the space with our parameters. We have up to 97% LTs and as low as 0.1% liquidation penalties, which is not achievable by any other lending market in the space with their current code base. And at the same time, we are not increasing the risks. So the lending market is already live for 8 months. We have not had any kind of problems with that design. Like security researchers, auditors we spoke with, they see that Fluid has safer architecture, safer design than the current lending markets.
Because Morpho Blue as well?
Morpho is the safest, of course. Yeah, I will not. I mean, the Morpho is the safest in terms of you have very, let's say, inefficient way of doing things.
In what ways?
In ways of capital segregation, and this will be a separate topic. I mean,
You're doing my job. I love it. Keep
Yeah.
going, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can keep going.
So, let's say for the lending markets with shared pool liquidity. And our architecture allows us to build more protocols on top of Fluid. So every new protocol which is built on top of it is already bootstrapped. So in 8 months, we reached 1 billion market size. We deploy a new protocol, it taps into the same liquidity. We launched the DEX 2 weeks ago. In the first 4 days, we had deeper liquidity than Uniswap for the 3 pools, which we launched. We have now the deepest liquidity for stake ETH on Ethereum. And I mean,
I really believe like you are on the pathway to be the most efficient decentralized exchange on chain.
Excuse me, can you please repeat?
I was saying something nice. Don't get used to it. I will not repeat it.
No, I just didn't hear the question.
You said you're on a good path to be like the most decentralized, liquidity
And efficient decentralized exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for the lending market, I mean, you cannot compete with like Aave in size. It's very clear for everyone. People trust Aave more. To have same level of trust, you need many years on the market. After 5 years, we can see if people trust Fluid or not, if people trust Aave or not, whatever, we will see. At the moment, of course, you can compete with Aave. On the DEX, it's easier for us because DEX, people see a very clear economic reason to use Fluid DEX. And people even don't know they're using the DEX because they're using DEX aggregators. And liquidity providers benefit on our DEX much more. So by the end of the month, we'll be the second biggest DEX on Ethereum by the volume. Within the next 12 months, we expect it will be the biggest DEX on Ethereum by volume. But our TVL on the DEX is actually negative, so we work in a different way.
Yeah. That would be really kind of a big success if you could be the biggest DEX by volume. One thing you mentioned, and maybe we can follow up with you as well, we are at Lido conference, of course, and when talking about collaterals in lending protocols, we see this kind of huge emergence of kind of leveraging, the liquid restaking tokens and so on. Can you tell me more about that? I know Fluid is kind of big into that use case. Do you see that as something that's going to be like worthwhile and kind of, is that something that's in the future going to continue? And do you believe it's kind of good for your lending protocol to have the liquid restaking and all the leverage looping on the protocol? Go ahead if you want. Yeah.
So with liquid restaking as a collateral, liquid restaking tokens as a collateral.
So basically, the Lido tokens, people, borrow and loop it and for better APYs and so on.
Yeah. So we don't have any concerns if people want to borrow Lido stake ETH. Mm-hmm. The concern is with LRTs because LRTs at the moment it's very safe thing because there is no slashing, there is no use case, there are no AVSs and so on. After 2-3 months, when slashing happens, when slashing starts, when slashing is activated, and when there are AVS that have some risk, and LRTs will start delegating, so there will be slashing risk for them. And some LRTs might choose more risky approach. They might want to have higher yield. So with higher yield, you have higher risk of slashing and so on. At that point of time, we are very concerned about that. We are not sure if we are ready to support LRT assets on Fluid. As of now, we support Etherify.
I think it's really important in this new vertical to have curation. I think I'm completely convinced, and let's create a poly-market bet on this, that we will have, in the next 6 months, the first LRT protocol that will go bust. Because some of them are like extremely profit maximalist and will onboard any AVS to squeeze one more BPS of yield. And we all know all these kind of things end up. And probably one of the best contender, the LRT vertical, to be the reason of the end of this bull market and the start of the bear market. I would not love to be the lending protocol that has that LRT that goes bust and be the collateral of that and the counterparty of this.
Yeah, same for us. We are not onboarding LRTs, except one which we have now. We are still assuming, still assessing the risks associated with that. So it's too early to speak about LRTs. We can only assess that after slashing goes live, after they start delegating to AVS, and we see what will be the outcome.
Yeah, that makes sense. Paul, maybe do you have an opinion on it?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the LRT risk is like becoming more and more diverse. Like there is, each token has its own like risk profile, etc. It's becoming increasingly hard for one risk management process to actually capture the essence of the complexity of each of those. And so, it's becoming increasingly clear that, some users want those and they are creating use cases around them, but they're subscribing to this risk, right? So I think what I like about the Morpho architecture is that we've seen a lot of, users creating lending and borrowing markets around LRTs that are, could be considered super risky, as well as others that could be considered super safe. And we don't have to, as a team, like look on due deal, on any of those, right? Like just because the protocol is permissionless and it's the way it's built, same way with Uniswap, like they can, anyone can create a market.
Yeah, but that's all you end up with 100% of the Morpho Blue Vault user using Easy Eat getting liquidated overnight because there's a scam week depeg and the oracle has been done like stupidly.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So
exactly.
100% of the Morpho Blue user using Easy Eat as collateral have been liquidated overnight because the oracle was stupid, and basically every user lost money that day.
Right. So
on Morpho.
Yeah. So users that were decided to choose to use Easy Ease with this given oracle. And the oracle, if the oracle depegs, then yes, they get liquidated. Like that's the basic principles of lending. Like we don't, force them to use this
But the
market.
reality is that 3 months later, we did the job and we did the homework and we onboarded Renzo 3 weeks ago, and now we have 500 million of it in Aave. Because if you do no curation and if you operate risk as an amateur, your user will lose money and they will not come back.
So I knew I shouldn't have sat between you guys. So I think Morpho offers a diversity of curation, which is good, and Aave has curation as well. And I think as the market evolves, we're going to see curation evolve. We're going to see wider set of due diligence because inevitably the AVS landscape will expand by orders of magnitude. Will some things go bust? Sure. This is the normal in traditional finance. We don't want a 2008 level cataclysm in DeFi. We want to show resiliency, but our protocols do have some layers of fallback and safety, right? At various levels of the stack. We have safety modules, we have risk funds, and so should we accept
on
some?
Aave, yes. On Aave, yes.
Well, on our lending markets, right? But as the landscape expands, there's going to be a higher level of rigor needed for the curation, for the due diligence, and I think we should come along for the ride, even if it means bringing a higher level of risk. Just allow the users to fine-tune their level of risk as this market grows, rather than kind of having a binary approach to it.
Yeah, exactly. I would second that. No one wants one centralized party, even if it's a DAO, to actually choose on what's the good risk configuration. You want a free market for risk management, where essentially anyone can choose what oracles they would choose for Easy Ease. Maybe one risk provider will choose one, maybe the other will choose the other, and maybe the first one will use users if they don't do it properly, but then that's the laws of the free market.
Yeah, but
and so
where
only
are
the
guardrails?
best brand of risk management
Who
will emerge
protects your
over time.
users?
Yes, sir, you were saying?
Who protects your user? Where are the guardrails?
So
who watch the watchers?
So on Morpho, you have risk managers that build vaults on top of Morpho, and they're responsible for the risk management.
What's the downside for them? When do they lose?
If users lose,
half a dozen vault have bad debt on Morpho.
Yeah, but
what's the downside?
If it's a couple cents,
who is responsible?
Can you remember how much bad debt there was on Aave?
Quote me one user of Aave that lost money. There's none. Half a decade now.
I mean, the users that got liquidated, they don't lose money?
That's a direction on bet. The LP don't lose money. Your LP lose money.
Yeah, of course, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, Aave is pretending that there is a risk-free solution to yield, which, you know, is what they say. What we're saying is that, you know, the yield world has more than one risk profile. You know, you have people that want to take more risk, more use cases, even when they release, like there is a new token, they want to, you know, be willing to do that immediately.
So Morpho is the risk protocol?
No, Morpho is expressing any kind of risk.
I can settle with that.
So what's interesting is that, you know, Morpho is expressing different kind of risks, like from the much riskier than Aave side of things, but also from the much safer than Aave side of things, right? So Aave, how much collateral do you have on Aave V3 right now?
It depends on the instance. We have several instances.
So like on the main instance, for example?
On the Lido instance, there's only one collateral. It's WSD,
on the main instance.
And it's probably the safest venue where to park your
like
staking.
35 collateral, 10 of them are posed, or like 20 of them are posed or deprecated? Like what's the current
We
state?
lost money on Aave.
What's right?
We lost money on Aave.
Bars.
Who?
Bars? Like the people that got liquidated.
They took a direction on that.
I mean, what you're pretending is that Aave is the yield opportunity where no one will ever lose money, right? Like, guys, this thing is safe forever. We just invented the risk-free rates on chain thanks to Aave. So, according to Marc Zeller, no one will ever lose any money on Aave. You can trust Aave. You can trust the DAO.
$750 million in the safety module. How much do you have? Zero.
Sorry, what? Can you repeat that?
If we are wrong and the parameter is bad, and there's bad debt, it's $750 million in the safety module. How much you have? Zero.
Okay, so yeah, that's what you're saying, is that
Aave
will never ever lose money. Is that what you're saying? Like, Aave users will never ever lose money? This is a risk-free opportunity?
I think it's much safer than anything you can provide.
Okay,
and I'm
so it's
completely
not,
safe, and I have my own money in Aave.
What's right?
I have my own money in Aave.
Yeah, I have my own money on Morpho.
Are you?
And on vaults that are, you know, what I consider to be much safer to Aave, because they only expose me to 2 collateral, not, you know, 5 of them or 20 of them, depending on the instance.
I have money on all protocols here because I believe in decentralization and diversification of risk. And I don't think there should be a winner-takes-all market. I think we've seen this in the United States. And we've rebounded a little bit. The market leader in the United States is JP Morgan, that controls 10% of the cash deposits. In Ethereum, the top 2 lending protocols control 70%. So we have more work to do in terms of diversification, risk management, and decentralization. I don't want to build a TradFi 3.0. We are careening towards that. We need a landscape where people have different types of venues with different risk profiles and different ways of doing things. I think here we have a diversity of opinions. That's good. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, for lack of a better term, on a day when, you know, cat memes are doing well. But I think it's good that we have different opinions, right? But there shouldn't be a winner takes all. And let there be, you know, not just JP Morgan, Citibank, you know, let there be many protocols that succeed, and let's kind of agree with each other on the benefits rather than, you know, tearing each other apart, guys, because I'm in the middle here.
I'm not a socialist. The market is always right, and we have 80% market share. I think the market decides.
Oh, that might be a function of first mover advantage. And, you know,
we are not the first mover. Compound was. Remember that.
But, you know, it's kind of a derelict protocol now without leadership, so that might contribute to some of what we see.
Cool, guys. let's.
Oh, you're here.
I have some questions. Yeah, yeah, but I do think like it's kind of a difference of opinion on how to like pose risk. So, after all, you said like the market will decide. Like we'll see in, you know, the next 2, 3, 5 years like how things played out. I guess I wanted to ask a little bit about like scaling and like L2s. Obviously, like everybody is launching an L2 nowadays, and there's a lot of talk about scaling on Ethereum. So I actually wanted to hear like a couple of your opinions. First of all is like, how do you choose like on which L2s you want to launch your protocol? And do you think like that like launching an L2 like app chain for your lending protocol is something that's kind of beneficial and it's going to work in the future? Maybe Marc, you have an opinion on it.
What I have to say is that we were the first to explore the multi-layer world back in April 2021, where we deployed on Polygon, then Avalanche, a bit after that on Arbitrum, and then we are now on many different networks. I think it's extremely important to explore the layer 2, because if we want to be accessible, I did a transaction this morning and I paid $35 of gas fee on Ethereum mainnet. if we pretend to build decentralized finance and the future of finance, we cannot cut the accessibility and to most of the people in this world, and the transaction fee needs to be minimal. So we are extremely happy to be on Base. We are extremely happy to be on Layer 2 because we make it accessible, even if that represents only a fraction of our revenue and our TVL, because what we learn is people with actual capital and with actual size, they don't fucking care about paying $50 because when you have 50 million, you are ready to pay $50 of transaction fee. So it's not a it is a profitable thing for us to be on Layer 2. We make millions over there, but it's not most of our profit, but it's still important to keep developing our presence on Layer 2s.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, do you think over time that like more capital will go to like L2s like Arbitrum and so on, that the actual like big users would be comfortable to actually like transact millions on Arbitrum as well?
I think we will see. Right now, the market data doesn't seem to indicate that. We have a few concentration liquidity hub, I would say, on Scroll, for example, on Arbitrum, on Avalanche, and on Base. That will be like the main hubs of liquidity and concentration. That's also where we witness growth in terms of user and adoption, even if the average portfolio size of the user is much smaller than what we have on Layer 1 on average. So some of them will win, but I'm completely convinced we're not going to have like 50 successful Layer 2s. So probably we'll have half a dozen thriving, and that's it.
Yeah, I second that. I think there'll be market consolidation, but it might be around Layer 2s we've never heard of yet, and that don't exist.
BNB as well. Sorry, I didn't talk about it.
It might be on Layer 2s that we've never heard of yet and that don't exist yet. We see some interesting things coming out, like Unichain. I've heard some views that there will be gargantuan amounts of liquidity moving there, and it'll be the home of liquidity. I think it's an interesting argument to make. Who can really say what happens? But if the liquidity has benefits that users want to seek out, and not even users, but the interfaces users are using, like the AI agents and all of the mechanisms that are going to be autopiloting this liquidity, probably we have to ask the AIs, hey, what L2s do you like?
So yeah, I guess just to second what was said, I think on Ethereum you'll have like almost, not forever, but like for the many years to come, still have like the big liquidity of like the high net worth individuals or like the DeFi funds that have been in crypto for a while and made a lot of money thanks to price action will remain on Ethereum for a long period of time. I think on Aave, V3, USDC, I think you have like 4,000 users in total that make up for like almost all the pool, whereas on Base you have like lending and borrowing users, you have like hundreds and thousands of them, and so clearly, as Marc said, like the portfolio size is different, but like what's on Layer 2 will scale much more over time. That's pretty obvious. I also think that one of the other reasons that was not mentioned is because Layer 2s can act as backend for like big financial distribution, to actually completely abstract away like the gas. We've seen, I think, a few days ago, Safe roll out like gasless signing. Like more and more apps are like rolling out gasless, and this is because it's cheap and they can pay on behalf of users. And this is going to unlock a lot because like all like the fintechs of the world, they're going to like being able to integrate like DeFi on Layer 2s thanks to that.
For the Layer 2s and for alternative L1s, we think that there are not so many actual organic chains with actual TVL and actual users. We see, there are 2 L2s now that we can safely say that they have organic usage and they're growing, and you can see by the amount of users they have and so on. For us, we only want to focus on those chains that have the future. We are not interested in launching everywhere and trying to build lending market everywhere, but we interested in chains like Ethereum, Base, Arbitrum, especially if you see Base and Arbitrum, DEX volume is growing very fast, and for us, for our architecture is very beneficial because we act both as a DEX and a lending market, and it helps us to grow both of them. But yeah, I think, I mean, I know how many layer 2s are scheduled now line up, how many new L1s are lined up. It's the same like with the protocols, only in the best case scenario, 10% of them will succeed. And we will have more, again, more abstract way to interact with the chain. So there will be a few major chains, a few major L2s, and yeah, users will be interacting between them.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. One thing I was wondering, and that's kind of an often topic talked about, is like real-world assets, and actually kind of, you know, currently we're like tokenizing and having like the on-chain assets, and it's so much of the market, but there's also like everything else in, you know, the real world. But we have seen a lot of issues like properly tokenizing and kind of utilizing real-world assets. What's your kind of general opinion on it? Is it something that you guys are looking into it and you see a future there? I guess we can start from Marc. Maybe you have some opinions on it.
I think we are in the pincher movement on off-chain and on-chain economy, and it's a very interesting market phase right now. So you have the off-chain yield that will go to zero because the fiat economy only exists because it's cheap to create money out of thin air. And what we had since the pandemic is an anomaly in the fiat economy because earning 5% risk-free yield is not normal and not sustainable for the fiat economy. So this off-chain yield will go down, at least the risk-free one, and the on-chain yield is going up because the market is the on-chain economy is expanding and it's growing and it's attracting more and more investments and speculation as well. So you have your on-chain yield that go up and the off-chain yield that goes down. So I think it's the worst possible time to focus on real-world assets for this kind of stuff. Although, unless you want to replicate the MakerDAO/Sky mistake of having a huge part of the backing of your collateral that are underperforming the on-chain average market. That's what I say about right now, but I still believe attracting the off-chain economy on-chain is the future. So in the very short term, I'm bearish, but I'm extremely bullish and optimistic in the mid and long term.
Yeah, so a year ago, the SDAI yield rate was worse than T-bills, and of course, you know, it's been flipped. But you know, echoing what Marc said, there's these kind of unrealized efficiencies of on-chain finance that have yet to be really priced in. And as we bring in more and more of the demand, it's only going to drive the yields higher, right? And so over time, we're going to have more demand, higher yields, and people are going to seek to, instead of, you know, tokenizing the T-bills and bring that on chain, well, we're going to be doing the tokenization for assets that are natively generating their yield first, on-chain first, rather than off-chain and bring it on-chain, right? So the on-chain first, native yield generation for these real world or off-chain assets, I think that's going to proliferate and expand the selection and opportunities for lending markets for sure.
Yeah, I'll be very short. I just second what Brad just said on like minting reward assets instead of like tokenizing like assets that exist in like an off-chain registry, etc. Like more and more we've seen those institutions like, you know, actually deploying their minting process. I know that, for example, in France, we have, you know, like Société Générale was like Forge that has been famously been doing that for quite a long time, but now, you know, is like expanding more and more in that direction. And, you know, from what we've seen, like a lot of institutions are going that route, which is extremely bullish because, like, you know, everything will be issued natively on chain, and we'll be able to like, you'll be able to transfer ETFs or like, you know, securities in a way that's, you know, super fluid. If I may.
Yeah. So what we are actually talking now about is the market inefficiency. In efficient markets, we should have, let's say, equal yields, but of course there is a like risk premium in DeFi. And DeFi is an emerging market. We should have higher yields in DeFi. And there was a moment during the bear market when yields on now, I think, was like 2-3% on stable coins. while T-bills were 5%. And this was like very, I mean, it didn't make sense. On-chain yields should be higher than.
It was because the on-chain economy was fucked.
Yeah. So let's say probably we had more supply on-chain, and it was also market inefficiency. Now we have another way of market inefficiency, and yeah, I mean, with adoption, this gap will be closing, and same like as Marc saying, short-term RWA on chain is quite bearish. Long term, it's, I mean, all economy will shift to on-chain. I have no doubts about that. And at Fluid, we also have this vision that, you know, our algorithm, how we use debt as liquidity, will power forex markets on-chain. We're exploring new protocols that we can build on top of Fluid, including uncollateralized loans and many, many things. Yeah, so long term, very bullish.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I'm guessing we're running out of time, so maybe let's end it on kind of talking a bit about the future. I do have a very VC-like question. It's like, how do we 10x from here? So not talking about specific protocols, but in general, the lending DeFi market, you know, how do we kind of, let's say, go mainstream, you know, have everybody actually understanding and using this stuff?
Yeah, I would say we just continue what we're doing. It seems to be working, and we've been improving along the way. There's of course been some stumbling blocks, but we've been getting smarter, and you know, we've been speaking to some of those themes here in terms of curation, risk management. I think we see a lower number of insolvencies over the years. I think these are going down, and it just means that the augmentation of the whole space is occurring, and that the PMF seems to be there. I think we're seeing a little PMF, right? So it's just continuing to do what we're doing and scaling, keeping up with the market while staying safe. We're enabling that with smarter ways of doing risk management. So we announced deployment of the Edge Oracle with Chaos Labs. This allows us to do curation smarter and to use AI models that are basically injecting their parameters into the protocol. These kinds of developments will help us basically scale with the markets at warp speeds, but staying safe. So that's what I'm thinking will get us there.
I'm really excited about Edge. So you guys like pioneering with this. We are implementing that as well with Chaos Lab on Aave in next week. So I think it's the next frontier because dynamic risk parameters are extremely important to me. I think it should not be immutable because the markets are not immutable and the intrinsic value of collaterals are not like permanent. And I think we reached the scale. We reached the critical mass to fade any naysayer saying like DeFi or lending is not a thing. It's actually a thing and it's an industry now. Now we have to hyper-optimize. And there's a lot to do. I'm very excited to participate in that. And there's going to be a lot of innovation this cycle.
So, yeah, I'm also excited by the growth of DeFi and like, you know, but I do think that we're still frankly far away from like traditional financial infrastructure. Just looking at the numbers, you know, we're still like multiple orders of magnitude behind. And to me, what it takes to actually like grow and finally get there is mainly through two things. Like, you know, first, you know, being permissionless is like, seems to be very important, especially if we want to onboard institutional players like in the DeFi space without having them essentially trying to replicate and take the work that we've been doing over the years in order to make sure like, you know, like we can actually keep the thing decentralized. And the second point is obviously like decentralization. Like to me, like a second very big vector of scaling is like making your base primitive as decentralized as possible, because then you can have like anybody can trust it. And so, you know, there's different, you know, the spectrum of decentralization in DeFi is extremely wide, and we've taken the extremist path, which is like, you know, being as decentralized as possible, actually as decentralized as Ethereum, and we think that's the right way to go.
Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah. How to 10x? Or?
It depends, actually. What we are still missing is adoption. And I think people were saying this for the last couple of years that adoption will happen when people don't understand that they're using blockchain. And you can see this happening like with smart wallets, which more and more similar to banking apps now. You can see gasless transactions, gasless chains popping up. So at some point, people will stop realizing that they're using blockchain, and at that moment, with the adoption, more money will come into the space, and yeah, we'll be growing. It's actually we just as Brad told, we just have to continue doing what we're doing now, and the market's becoming more resilient, more aware of risks. Yeah, we don't have one more Luna. I mean, it was big success. They were paying 20% yield, and it went like to 20 or 40 billion, I don't remember. Athena is launched, and they were also paying 20%, and it was much safer design, yeah. And people already cautious about it. They don't just put money in there. So I mean, we are maturing. Space is evolving, and yeah, we just have to continue.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's it. A round of applause for the speakers.